Welcome to the Dental School Guide podcast, your ultimate destination for all things dentistry. I'm Dr. Tanner Townsend, your guide through the complex world of dental education. Join us as we uncover the secrets of acing dental school admissions, navigating residency programs, and exploring career opportunities. Please share and enjoy. Real quick, just wanted to make all you pre-dental students out there aware of a resource. If you've ever been worried about getting into dental school or are wanting to get into that school of your dreams, then you definitely want to check out a program called Dental School Guide. In the program, we walk you through how to save money, time, and heartache when applying to dental school. There's so much fluff out there when it comes to resources for getting into school, and we are streamlining all of that. With our comprehensive digital course, expert mentorship, and personalized application review services, you'll have everything you need to stand out to admission committees. Take advantage of this amazing resource that will help you increase your chances of getting into dental school. You'll want to check out dentalschoolguide.com. Check it out. Back to the Dental School Guide podcast. My name is Dr. Tanner Townsend. I'm your host, and today we have Alyssa from UNLV. She's a D2 at UNLV, and she's going to be giving us a little insight on what life is like at UNLV and how school is there. So Alyssa, welcome to the podcast.
Dr. Townsend, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to help out other students on their dental school journey.
All right. Well, Alyssa, give us a little background to start about yourself. How did you pick UNLV? Where are you from? And all that good stuff.
So, I was originally born and raised in Honolulu, Hawaii. I've lived there my whole life. And I also went to undergrad at University of Hawaii at Manoa, which, as many people know, Hawaii doesn't have a dental school. I was forced to apply to dental schools on the continental US, and I applied to about 19 schools, especially since I wouldn't be an in-state student to any of them. I would have a harder chance of getting in. And I chose UNLV because it's technically the ninth island, and a lot of Hawaii residents end up going to to Las Vegas in general.
So does UNLV have like an agreement with the state of Hawaii to accept a certain number of students there every year?
No. There is a thing called WICHE. I don't remember what WICHE stands for specifically, but they do have contracts with schools that if you do get accepted, then they'll give you a 1.5 times the in-state tuition, which I think UNLV has that offer, but there was a different route that I took to get in-state tuition, which primarily helped me choose UNLV because I would be getting in-state tuition for all 4 years.
Well, we might actually dive into that in a minute if that's okay, and just kind of how you got that in-state tuition, because not a lot of schools anymore even let you get in-state tuition. So that's a huge factor that might make UNLV very attractive. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do here, Alyssa, we're going to talk a little bit about your school, just some rapid fire questions of what makes UNLV unique. Okay, so just answer to the best of your abilities and we will take it from there, okay?
Great.
Okay, so first and foremost, is your school a graded school? Is it a pass-fail school? How do they structure their curriculum?
Yes, we are graded. We have A through D, no plus minus, but if you get below a C, you have to repeat the course, you have to remediate. And our clinic is pass-fail, and maybe some courses are pass-fail, but very little.
I think a lot of schools are that way. There's been a trend in dental schools to go to more of a pass-fail model. But we're still kind of a fan at Dental School Guide of the graded model. I think it helps set you apart, whether if you're applying to residencies in the future or getting a job. I think it really helps. Nothing's wrong with those pass-fail schools. They're still great schools, but I think there's something to be said for graded curriculum still.
Yes, it's definitely, I've heard a lot of things about pass-fail schools, about how they're going to be applying to residency and how they separate those students. I'm sure there's many different systems in place at other schools. I just currently don't know very much about it since my school is graded. But I also heard that since my school is graded, they have a preference, specialty programs have more of a preference towards us because we have a strict structure in line that they don't have to decipher. We'll
Yeah,
see.
there's a lot less deciphering that has to go on in terms of
Mhm.
residencies picking once you get to that point. So that is a plus for graded schools for sure. So we kind of talked a little bit about what made you decide to go there. What is the atmosphere and the culture like at UNLV? Do you feel like it's a pretty positive culture? Are the faculty interactions really positive with the students?
So, I would say our culture is pretty positive. We are a West Coast school, not to kind of stereotype, but when I've met students from other schools on the East Coast, they would not describe their experience like ours. UNLV is chill, relaxed, but we also have a really good academic rigor to our courses. We don't have, well, I guess every school kind of has that like that gunner mentality, especially since we have grades, but we we don't have a culture where like every single person is trying to specialize, and that works out because even though we have grades, some people just want to take it relaxed. We have also a lot of non-traditional students, so a lot of older people who have families. Sometimes they would rather spend time with their family than try to get a 100% on their exam. And that kind of adds to the culture, the more relaxed culture, that we're not trying to compete with each other. And even if you are trying to specialize, there's competition too. So it's a mix of both.
That's really good. It's good to have a mix of both, and it's good to have a lot of those non-traditional students.
Yeah.
So, in terms of the student population, you had mentioned that there's a number of non-traditional students.
Mhm.
Some schools have like agreements with different state governments outside the United States, or they accept a number of students from Canada. Have you noticed that there's a trend in the student population where UNLV accepts a certain number of students from out of the country? What countries are those, if that's the case? So on and so forth.
So, as far as international students go, in my class, we only have one international student, but we also have a DDS affiliate program, which is for international doctors who want to come to the US and get their degree here. As far as that goes, we normally take, well, I can't say that, but the trend that I've been seeing with the DDS program, a lot of them are from South Asia or the Middle East.
So in that DDS affiliate program, do they start? Oftentimes, they'll have those students that are DDSs in a different country. They'll have them start their program with you guys in their second or third year. When do they typically start it for you at UNLV for those students?
Yes, so they are right now I'm in my D2 year. We're finishing up our spring semester and then we're going to jump into our summer semester, and that's when the DDS program will be joining us. Our summer semester is going to be a lot heavier in lab courses, lots of hands-on learning. So once they jump in there, they follow us throughout graduation.
Awesome. Yeah, and so most schools are a lot like that, where they'll do either 3 years or 2 years with those international dentists that want to come join in the United States. So that's really cool that they do it just as a 2 year program. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, is the area safe where the campus is? There's a lot of campuses that are kind of downtown, and there's nothing wrong with that. But do you feel that area is a pretty safe place to be around, and so on?
Yes, so our campus is located in downtown Las Vegas. And if you ask many locals, they would not really frequent to downtown Vegas that often because of just the area. But our school is based off of Medicaid patients, and we get a lot of our patients from that area. Well, not I mean, they come from all over Las Vegas, but that helps with our clinic being so strong since we have a strong patient pool. I have not experienced any imminent danger while being on campus personally, but a lot of my classmates have. Well, not a lot. I would say a few. I mean, we know to not walk alone at night. Sometimes I end up walking alone at night because like I'm just trying to get to my car and then I'm gonna go. Nothing has happened. No one has followed me anywhere. But some of our students' cars have gotten broken into, and they got their loops stolen. I don't know why they would steal that though.
Yeah,
Um,
I think whoever finds those is not going to really find a whole lot of benefit to
yeah,
them.
it's not made for them. You can't sell it. Whoever's gonna buy it, I don't know. It's just it sucks that they get their equipment stolen. Um, we have security patrolling the area. I see them every so often. But yeah, you definitely wouldn't want to walk around like alone at night, especially as a woman. Stay, don't venture off into the neighborhood. I think you'll be okay. It's not
Yeah.
like, uh, I know other schools might have it worse.
And there are definitely other schools that have it worse, and a lot of the areas where dental schools are, they're in an urban area that is
Yeah.
downtown, so they can target that population that will come to the school and get their dental work done. So not necessarily an uncommon thing at all.
Hmm.
So what is the parking situation like? You kind of alluded to the parking. Does it
Yeah,
cost?
so
Is it close to the campus? Is it
it
not
is
close?
one thing, it's really close to campus. It's on campus, and we don't have to walk through like a whole university campus to get to our dental school. So our dental school is off the main campus, so we get our own parking lot. It's really so it's basically just you walk out the building and like there's a parking lot, which is great. We have to pay a parking fee. Um, so we basically have a parking pass. I don't know. It's like $250 for a year, which is actually really good considered uh, other parking passes I paid for school. And it's non-covered, which sometimes in the Las Vegas summer gets really, really hot. But yeah, that's our parking situation.
Okay, very nice. And what is kind of along a similar vein as we're talking different situations? What's the housing situation like? I would assume there's a lot of students, if they have families, they're probably living a little bit more of a suburban life, kind of farther away from the school. But where do typically a majority of the students live?
So what you're saying is correct. A lot of our classmates have families, so they would normally live in like Summerlin or Henderson. That's about like a 20, 25, maybe even 30-minute drive from school.
Hmm.
Um, so that one takes a while, but those communities are really nice. Even our students that don't have children and families live in those areas because downtown Las Vegas and then just the perimeter around it is more urban, like you said. So they would rather live in the other surrounding communities. There's a few students though, maybe like 10% of the students live around the area. A lot of us actually just made the move to live closer to school. I originally used to live in Henderson. I would make that drive every day and it sucked. So I sucked it up and moved closer to school. I now drive 5 minutes. The crime is definitely a problem at the back of my head, but I get to wake up later and I don't get to sit in 30 minutes of traffic. So that is great.
There are a lot of pros to living close to school, that is for sure. I lived further out and with my family when I was in school, and it was one of those things where I wished we lived closer. So that's
Yeah,
really nice that you live that close now.
for sure. I definitely had a lot of decision making that went into it. Because I was a person who was driving 30 minutes each way to school, and you're busy. Sometimes you don't have time for that.
Yeah, sometimes you don't have time to sit for an hour in traffic during the day, so that's
Yeah.
nice that you don't have to do that anymore.
Hmm.
So Vegas is known for having a lot of things to do. What are some of the things that dental students like to do together socially when they're not in class and not having to study for practicals and exams?
That is a great question. We do have tons of things to do and entertainment. We also, yeah, we have the Las Vegas Strip. We don't frequent the Strip that often. Maybe in our first year, when everyone was new to the city, we would go to the Strip. But now we don't hang out that often sometimes. But um, my friends and I, we go on hikes or we go to work out, or sometimes we'll go to the different local bars that are off the strip that aren't charging like $25 a drink. I would just go to like local restaurants that are close to our house or that just opened up. Those are normally the spots that we like to hit up.
That is awesome. That's really cool. So, that kind of leads into another question. You had mentioned the gym. Some dental schools have like gyms that are sponsored by the undergrad campus typically, and they'll have like give you access to that gym for free. Is UNLV one of those cases where there's like a gym close by that you guys are able to go to, or do most people just go to an off-campus gym?
So we do have a gym that's sponsored by the UNLV main campus. It's really big, but the only thing is it's about like 15-20 minutes from our campus. So sometimes people don't want to make the drive out, especially if it's in the opposite direction of their house. There's only a few people I know that do go to that gym, but most people go to their own private gym, especially because the UNLV gym isn't open for as long as the private gym would be.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I think some of those campus gyms, if it's really close to your campus, makes tons of sense to use because you don't have to
Mhm.
pay for an extra gym. But if it's too far, it doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
So, all right,
But
now we're gonna. Oh, go for it, Alyssa. Sorry.
do on our campus, we have a little workout room, which is great,
Whoa.
honestly. It has like two treadmills, two ellipticals, some weights, a pull-up bar. Um, that's honestly good when you have a break during class or you have a gap and you just want to get a small exercise in. Um, I go there too because um, it's really convenient. It doesn't have a lot, but it's something.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's really cool. I don't think I've heard of a school that has like a small gym in the school. That's really unique. That's way cool. Well,
Mhm.
we're gonna go into some questions here real fast about what are unique aspects of UNLV that kind of make it a unique place to attend. What are um, so how would you describe the teaching style and faculty support at your school?
So our teaching style, we have a regular class schedule. We don't do a block schedule. Um, that means we're going to be seeing like 12 different faculty members because of our class load. We see them each week. It's it's interesting in a way where you don't have to um, completely focus into one topic. If you're really interested in one thing, you can kind of put your focus into that, and then when the other midterms come along, you're like, oh, I have to study for these ones too. Finals week gets really tough because you're taking like 12 finals. um, we have a lot of faculty support. um, they they are there to answer questions if you need, and they'll um, we also get to move our finals or midterms if we needed to. In the beginning of the school semester, we get our schedules and we come together as a class to, if certain exams are conflicting with each other, like if they're scheduled like five of them in a day, then we'll come together and talk to the professors to move them to a different day, and that's really great. Yeah.
That's a super nice thing. We had that at my school as well as we'd get together and be like, hey, there's going to be like three tests back to back to back on the same day. Let's not do that to ourselves. So it's kind of nice to be able to have the power to talk to the professors and spread it out a little bit.
Yes.
So, what are some unique things that UNLV has to offer?
Some of the unique things that UNLV has to offer is that our school is really strong in endo. I think we have something called uh, molar, something molar club. I forget, but it's when students have done 25 molar endos and they get to join that club, which is really great because many many dentists don't even want to do molar endo, and our school gets so many of those cases, and we send a lot of our students off to um, endo specialty. The
Wow,
young, yeah,
that's
yes,
really cool. So, they're letting you do molar endo in the pre-doctoral clinic then, I would assume, if you're
yes.
okay, that's really cool. So, not all schools let you do that. So, is that endo's the main specialty though that they have as kind of a main focus of the school?
No, it's actually not. I mean, we don't have a main one currently. At our school, we have a ortho program and a peds program. Um, yeah, we kind of send students everywhere. It just so happens that we have a really strong endo clinic where we get to do all these procedures.
Well, that's really cool. I That was something I didn't know about UNLV, that they were that strong in their endodontic department. That's really
Mhm.
cool. So, what are there other opportunities if you're not interested in endo to kind of get into oral surgery more? Do you guys get to place implants in your pre-doctoral clinic, or do you not?
The implants, I'm not too sure about. We are having an implant course coming up. As to placing the implants, I don't know yet. But
That's fair. You're not in the clinic yet, so that makes total sense. So,
yeah, I haven't seen very many students place implants. We definitely learn about them. They also offer an implant CE course that you can take in your senior year, but that's not in our curriculum. For oral surgery, we have a ER clinic. Like, that's where you go if you want to shadow oral surgery. They definitely involve oral surgery in a lot of our courses, which is great. If you haven't shadowed them when you were applying to dental school, we definitely get a lot of exposure, and you can even volunteer there on your breaks. If we have spring break, people will go to volunteer in the ER to get more exposure in oral surgery. Yeah, you can get close with the faculty and get your letters of rec with them. There's tons of opportunities to get your foot in the door.
awesome. So, do you feel like UNLV is a school that focuses very heavily on hands-on experience as opposed to like research or something like that?
Yes, our school has a very strong clinic. We start going into the clinic at this beginning of our D2 year. We start seeing patients, our own patients. We do their prophies and perio maintenances. And after that first semester in our D2 year, we're allowed to do restorations if we find them on our exam. We can do a class one and class five currently. UNLV really focuses on trying to get us out into the clinic as soon as possible, so we can get lots of experience with various patients.
That is awesome. That is really good that they try to get you into the clinic as fast as possible.
Mhm.
So, in terms of when do they try to get you into the sim lab first? Is it your first semester of your first year? If so, what are they having you do in that sim class?
So we do have a sim lab course in our first semester. That will be our waxing course. That I feel like mainly is to learn tooth anatomy and to get our hand skills up to par. Even though that class is not of people's favorite, I've definitely learned a lot about how and the different contours of a tooth and embrasures. And after that, we start operative. So we would be getting our loops um, around December to January, and we start learning class ones. I actually don't remember what else we learned, but like the basic restorations and stuff like that.
It's awesome. They get you into the clinic really fast and they work you in the sim lab right away as well. I think that's a key thing that dental schools students want to attend. They want to be able to get their hand skills up and moving as soon as they get to school, because in undergrad you're doing just didactic work your whole time, and it's nice to finally be like, okay, we are doing something that is applicable for my life for the rest of my career, which is nice.
Totally, totally. If I were to do didactics like 2 years, for a whole 2 years and no work in the sim lab, I don't know, my motivation would really be draining because um, doing the work we do in the sim lab and seeing patients in clinic, it really motivates you to see this is the end goal of what you're trying to do, what you're working towards.
Totally. So is there anything that you wish just that your school would do a little bit differently? Is there anything that you're like, man, this is an area where they could potentially improve, and I see that they're trying to improve in this department?
I think they could improve on some courses, could get a newer curriculum. We are being taught things that um, I guess are really ancient in dentistry, which it is good to know, like the history of things, but being a state school, we don't have as much funding as a private university. And we don't have all of the technology that um, is coming out, which it's hard to keep up nowadays. There's so many different devices you could buy, but it would be great if we updated our technology and geared our curriculum more towards using that rather than the old school method, which just takes a long time and really backs up um, the sim lab at the clinic.
Yeah. Do you guys get any exposure to scanners at all when you're scanning like crowns? Or do you get exposed to
Mhm.
digital dentistry at all?
Yes, we do have a couple scanners at the school, but since we only have a couple, everyone is fighting over the scanners. And if you are doing a crown, then it's kind of free for all. Uh, if you don't get a scanner, then you have to do the regular impression method, which takes a long time. I feel like most offices now only use the intraoral scanner. So hopefully, we can move towards something like that in the future.
That sounds good. What other things does your school do to help prepare you for life after dental school? Do they have any courses that you might probably haven't taken yet, but they offer to like the D3s and D4s about like preparing to be in your own practice or buying a practice? Do they have anything like that?
After buying your own practice, I think D3s or D4s have a class about finances in dentistry, which is very helpful. And also, they have a class about insurance in dentistry, which insurance is such an obscure topic, and so many people don't understand it. But we also offer a lot of um, lunch and learns from the various clubs. Like ASDA pushes a lot of lunch and learns from like practice owners and how to buy a practice, finances, a business club too. So there's tons of resources that you could access. As far as things that are built into the curricula, I only know of like 2 or 3 classes.
That's okay. I think that's an awesome thing that the school offers. If they're offering an insurance class, that is huge. There's not
Mm-hmm.
many classes or schools out there that offer an insurance class because insurance is such an interesting game and it varies state to state and almost practice to practice. But
Oh,
knowing how to navigate those waters is huge. So that's cool that they give you at least an introduction into that and how to do that along with the practice ownership and practice management. Oh, in terms of the clinic at UNLV, what's the clinic like? Do you have to find your own patients or are most of them given to you? Do you have like a senior student or a junior student that can be your mentor and partner? How do they structure that in the clinic?
so in our clinic, as a D2, we're given our patients, they just get assigned to us. We don't have to go out into the world to find a person who needs a cleaning, which is great, honestly. And we don't have a mentorship type of thing. That patient is our patient and we take care of everything they need to do. However, if they do have a complex procedure that needs to be done and we aren't up to that level, then we can pass it off to upperclassmen to do it. And then once they finish that procedure, they come back to us. Say if we were looking for certain requirements for graduation, which I'm not there yet, but I know some seniors had to venture out, had to ask around for their classmates if they had a patient that could fulfill those. But overall, it's not like a total war zone. Like, oh, that's my patient. You can't take her. You can't do that.
Yeah, I think as long as you're not having to hunt for your own patients on the street and
Mm-hmm.
advertise for it, that's probably a pretty good thing. So, it sounds like that UNLV has a plethora of patients that they can provide, which is excellent. So,
Yes.
are there external rotations at your guys' school? Do you guys get to go out in the community for weeks or months at a time and kind of get an experience of life outside the dental school during your third and fourth year? Or is it, nope, you're staying at the school, we don't have any external rotations?
That's actually a great question, which I want to know myself too. I know we have rotations on the main campus to treat students in the undergrad program, just because we have a dental clinic there. I feel like we do have external rotations as to what they are and where they're going to. I don't know the specifics of that. And I'm not even sure there's other schools that send students like across the nation or sometimes even international. I don't think we have a strong program in that.
Gotcha.
feel like,
Oh,
yeah. But
that's okay.
I don't know yet. So yeah.
Yep, and a lot of times that comes up during your fourth year. Most schools, they'll have like internal rotations where you'll rotate through different programs during the school, like
Mhm.
whether it's in the perio department or oral surgery department.
Oh yeah.
And then you'll rotate out into the community and do general dentistry if they offer that at your school during the fourth year. So
Mhm.
that's interesting to hear that. So going back to the sim lab, do you guys have to pay for your own teeth and burrs and stuff like that, or is it all provided for by the school? I had to pay for my own, which was a bummer, but I know
Yeah.
some schools they'll cover it for you in the tuition costs and all that jazz.
hmm so we actually have to pay for our own teeth, but they give us like five practice teeth per each assignment, which is actually great. If you wanted to practice more, then you had to buy your own on like a website. We also buy them from the seniors that are leaving if they have leftover teeth. They'll sell it to us. As for burrs and things like composite, mylar strips, wedges, we don't have to pay for that. And it's really great because we don't have to worry about like, oh my gosh, my burr is getting dull, but I don't want to pay another
Pay for another
$5.
one, yeah.
And yeah, the only things that we have to pay for is like our loops, extra teeth, and extra fancy materials if we need it. But everything is mostly covered, which is great.
Well, that's good. Okay, so now we're going to jump into the interview section portion of our podcast where we discuss what your dental school interview was like and the other schools that you interviewed at. So, what was your experience like interviewing at UNLV and, for that matter, other dental schools that you interviewed at? And was it in person? Was it virtual? How was it structured?
So when I was applying to dental schools, it was during COVID. COVID restrictions were just getting lifted, but with that, they were still doing interviews online. And I interviewed at a lot of schools through the Kira Talent Test. I'm not sure if they're still doing that right now,
Some
but
schools are still doing it, so
yeah, it's a good preliminary interview tool. But after at UNLV, after they received my Kira Talent Test, they invited about like I don't know how many students they invited actually, about like 200 students to come to the school, and that would happen in like October, November. Yeah, so if you don't attend the in-person invite, then you would be disqualified. UNLV is one of the few schools that made the students come during that time, which I thought was interesting. And with that, we weren't interviewed further at the school, but once you step foot, you are being watched, not like by CCTV or anything, but faculty is kind of observing your mannerisms and how you interact with other students, whether you're polite, and how you interact with other people that are working on our campus. And they kind of just put you in a little group to tour the campus. And while you're touring campus, upperclassman is asking you questions. And mainly if you're something throws them off about you, something really odd, then they'll note that in the review after. But they're just trying to see if you're a regular good person. Other schools, yeah, like I said, I did the Kira talent test. Midwestern was also, I got invited to go to their campus and we toured the campus, got to ask a ton of questions. But at the end of the day, we were subjected to an interview with a panel of faculty members and students, which was very intimidating. And that was my first ever in person interview in dental school. So it went well, I got accepted, but very different from how UNLV held their in person student day. Beyond that, is mostly just Zoom interviews. Like at University of Utah, they scheduled a Zoom interview, and the questions were um, really laid back, chill. I didn't seem super intimidated, like I guess it would be at Midwestern in person. But yeah, there were more schools I interviewed at and attended their like information day on Zoom. Um, but they're all kind of the same.
yeah.
Wow.
So UNLV, if I understand you correctly, kind of stood out in your mind when you were interviewing.
Yeah, yeah. It was really different. UNLV, at first, it wasn't really like my top pick. Um, but their interview process was different, and I went to the campus, and I got selected, which is great.
That is great. That is awesome. So have they since switched their interview style since COVID, UNLV?
I
Have they
think we're
moved back to
still
like in person?
using the Kira talent test. I'm actually not too sure. We still have the in-person student day, which they invite a handful of students to come and see how the school is like. And we still do the same thing where we put you in a little tour group and we observe how you are acting. So, but the interview process prior to that, I'm not sure how they hold it now. That's a good question.
And hopefully we'll get to the bottom of that if we are able to interview some of your faculty members that sit on the
Yes.
admissions committees. That way we can kind of get a sense of what they're looking for from a UNLV perspective. So does your school offer anything like a D.5? I don't know if you've ever heard of that before. So some schools do a preferential admittance for students where they'll get automatically accepted the following year, but they'll take dental school courses, just a handful of them, and then the next year they're admitted. Does your school do anything like that?
No, we did not do that. That's actually really cool to
Yeah,
get you in the door. I have not seen any D.5 students, so I would assume that we don't have that program.
gotcha. But are there any masters or post-bac programs that kind of funnel into UNLV that you know of? Any friends that have taken those?
I think there's masters or post-bac programs specifically that funnel into UNLV. There are a lot of students that did take the further step beyond a bachelor's degree, but I'm not sure if they were specific. They just took them like wherever, honestly.
Yeah, and
They
then they
didn't have
apply,
a
which is
program.
a very common route to take. Well, we're kind of coming to the end of our interview here. Do you have anything else that you want to say to the audience that you want to give advice on applying to dental school?
I would say to always believe in yourself. Applying to dental school was very tough for me because I struggled a lot with imposter syndrome. I still do. And
I think we
especially,
all do to a
we
degree.
all struggle with imposter syndrome. And um, when I was in school applying, it was during COVID, so we didn't have a lot of interaction with other students, but that left me a lot of time to go home and log on to DAT Bootcamp Facebook study group, and everyone on there posts like their stats and their DAT scores, like, and they volunteered for like 2,000 hours, you know, and all this stuff to like kind of boast. Well, maybe they're not boasting, but they like to post all their scores, and then with that, you're comparing yourself to all these students, and it's really unhealthy. Even though you're trying to get a range of what each school scores are and GPAs. I think this tool is Dental School Guide is really great because you don't have to venture off onto DAT Bootcamp Study Group Facebook and be exposed to all these negative comments. You get all the resources right here, and yeah, just always believe in yourself. And if you don't get in the first time, there are many, many students I know who had to apply multiple times. And now they will be in the graduating class of Doctors of Dental Medicine. It's going to be okay.
And I think that is excellent advice. Thank you, Alyssa, for the shout out as well. I think a lot of students get frustrated and discouraged when they get on those forms. And I think just keeping yourself, and it's a race between you and yourself, and just do the very best that you can and not compare. It's a really hard thing to do, but I think if students really take that advice to heart, I think a lot of them will be happier and they'll be doctors someday. One final question I failed to ask. How did you get in-state tuition? Is that a thing that everyone out of state is privileged to, or did you just have a unique opportunity being from Hawaii? How did you get that?
That's a great question. Yes. So when I got accepted to UNLV, they gave me their financial aid packet, and I I mean it was a big packet, but I took my time to read through everything. Since UNLV is a state school, they do have a program where they have to admit 50% of in-state students every year. But the way they kind of get around that is if they aren't able to get that 50% in-state acceptance, then they offer students after 1 year to apply for in-state tuition. And in that little paper that says that, it was a Nevada residency form, and there was a subsection that said if you move to Nevada under the preface that you are trying to open a business, then you can gain residency automatically within
Wow.
a month. So I actually was involved in insurance prior to dental school. So I just transferred that to make a business. I was still working in insurance in the time, so I just registered for a business license in Nevada, and I had a business bank account already. So I just had to register it in Nevada and say, I'm moving here to run a business. If they're going to patch up that loophole, many students that I talked to did not know that you could do that. And there's only one other student that I knew applied under that preface. She said that she was a tutor and she registered her tutoring business in Nevada. And we showed our documents to the dean of the school, and we were granted in state tuition right away.
Wow. Well, that's a cool loophole to take advantage of. And if you're able to set up your own business or have an existing business that you can transfer to Nevada, that is an awesome.
Yeah.
So well done, Alyssa. That is way cool. Kudos to
Thank
you.
you. Thank you very much. It was a really big deciding factor because the difference from in-state and out-of-state tuition was like $45,000.
Ah,
You know, if I get in-state tuition here all 4 years, I'm gonna go.
yeah. No, that is awesome. So well done. Well, Alyssa, thank you once again for coming on the podcast, and we will talk to you later. Have a good one.
Thank you so much. Good luck with everything.
That's all for today's episode of the Dental School Guide podcast. We hope you've gained valuable insights and inspiration to fuel your journey into dentistry. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more expert advice, inside tips, and engaging discussions. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. It would mean the world to us. Until next time, keep smiling, keep striving, and remember, your dental dreams are closer than you think. Thanks for tuning in to the Dental School Guide podcast.